Jane Fawcett was a British codebreaker, singer, and heritage preservationist. She recently became known for her role in decoding a message which led to the sinking of the German battleship Bismarck, but in the 1960s was well known as the secretary of the Victorian Society. Jane wrote and edited works including The Future of the Past, 7 Victorian Architects, The Village in History, and Save the City. Biography. Born the 4th of March 1921, as Janet Caroline Hughes, she was raised in London, attended Miss Ironside School for Girls in Kensington, trained as a ballet dancer, and was admitted to the Royal Ballet School. As a young woman of 17, she was told she was too tall to be a professional dancer, and her promising ballet career ended. She was then sent to Zurich to learn German, shortly thereafter moving to the St. Moritz ski resort. After 6 months, she was told by her parents to return home to come out as a debutante. She found that lifestyle boring, a complete waste of time, and was relieved when invited by a friend to apply to the Bletchley Park project. In 1940, at the age of 18, she interviewed with senior codebreaker Stuart Milner Barry and joined the secret codebreaking project at Bletchley Park. She joined a group of women called the Debs of Bletchley Park, so called because they were women recruited from upper classes, debutantes, to work in secret as part of the Enigma project. Hughes was assigned to Hut 6, a decoding room of women only. The conditions were poor, dimly lit, poorly heated, and poorly ventilated, and the women worked long hours under extreme pressure. In Hut 6, Jane and other women like her would receive the daily Enigma keys and type them into their own Type-X machines. They would then determine if the messages were recognizable German. On the 25th of May 1941, Hughes and several other women were briefed on the search from the German battleship Bismarck. Shortly thereafter, she decoded a message referring to the Bismarck that detailed its current position and destination in France. The Bismarck was subsequently attacked by the Royal Navy and sunk on the 27th of May. This was the first significant victory by the codebreakers, demonstrating the utility of the project. Her work did not come to light until decades later, during the 1990s, as it had been classified under Britain's Official Secrets Act. Compared with the publicly acknowledged heroics of the Navy, Fawcett said, "We felt slightly ashamed of having only done Bletchley, like also-rans. So when everything we had done, which we knew had been very hard work and incredibly demanding, suddenly showed its head and we were being asked to talk about it, it felt quite overwhelming. I'd never told a soul, not even my husband. Her children were very surprised," she recollected. Her service at Bletchley ended in May 1945. After the war ended, she married, changed her name to Fawcett, and trained at the Royal Academy of Music. From the end of World War II through the early 1960s, she had a 15-year career as an opera singer. She performed Scylla in Jean-Marie Leclerc's Scylla et Glaucus and the Sorceress in Henry Purcell's Dido and Aeneas. She also performed as a solo recital singer. In 1963 she took an executive position with the Victorian Society, a heritage preservation organization dedicated to preserving Victorian architecture and works. It had been founded just 5 years prior. As its secretary, she was effectively the chief executive, working closely with the organization's director, Sir Nicolaus Pevsner, to save many buildings from demolition. She was dubbed the Furious Mrs. Fawcett for her role in fighting with British Rail Service to preserve historic train stations, and was instrumental in the 1967 preservation of London's St Pancras Station and the Gothic Midland Grand Hotel. She also worked to save the majority of Whitehall from destruction. Fawcett's husband Ted joined her in historic preservation work in 1965, first joining joining the Garden History Society, then in 1969, joining the National Trust in full-time work. In 1976 she was appointed MBE and stepped down from active leadership. In later years Fawcett taught preservation at the Architectural Association's School of Architecture. Fawcett was one of the human sources Michael Smith interviewed for his 2015 book, The Debs of Bletchley Park and Other Stories. On the 21st of May 2016, Fawcett died in her home in Oxford at the age of 95. Personal life. Hughes met Royal Navy officer Edward Ted Fawcett during World War II and married him shortly thereafter. The couple had 2 children, Carolyn, an opera singer, and James, an experimental neurologist. Awards and recognition. MBE in 1976.